Going to talk about Jake Paul again. I mean, you can't not really, because UFC 261 was, of course, this weekend. And as the main card started, or I think perhaps as the prelims ended, everyone in the crowd started chanting, "Fuck Jake Paul." Interesting. Why would they be doing that? Oh, because Jake Paul was there. So I assume he got tickets from someone. I also find it highly unlikely that the UFC didn't know he had tickets. It's unlikely that he'd have got tickets without them knowing it. But, like, you know, someone would have known, hey, Jake Paul's coming, and they'd have gone, okay, fine. Like, so that's one point to make. But that obviously happened. Now, DC had said when Askren lost to Jake Paul, that DC said, "Oh, I'm going to have to slap that boy" or something, or made a throwaway comment. In any event, Jake Paul then tweeted DC a couple of days later and called him fat or something like that. Anyway, DC, just before the main card started, in between commentary jobs, downs his headset, walks over to Jake Paul and has it out with him. In between commentating. Has it out with a fan. Has it out with a fan who's paid to be there. So, I get DC's point. DC did bring up Jake Paul first. So, he doesn't really have an argument as to why he's annoyed with Jake. It doesn't make much sense, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Because DC said Jake Paul's name first, and then Jake Paul said something back, and then DC confronted him. Is this going to go anywhere? No. I mean, I hope it doesn't. But I mean, I love DC and I dislike Jake Paul. So, you know, the thing that this has done is kind of carry on Jake's name. People in the MMA community are still talking about him, like me. So, him going to that fight, he's kept himself relevant. He didn't provoke DC to, like, DC went over there, and DC loves the WWE. He's in on all that sort of stuff. He knew what he was doing, and he obviously didn't get physical with him because he's working. So he did just enough to stoke the fire a bit, and not too much that he'd get in trouble for it. So, I mean, hats off to DC. I guess hats off to Jake Paul because he's keeping himself relevant. And here I am talking about Jake Paul again.